Okay, I kind of dropped the ball on this one. I saw this movie on Friday and here I am just now reviewing it. Sorry about that. But hopefully you'll get an idea of why it took me so long to get this review out. I really didn't like this movie and I wanted to carefully figure out how to explain what didn't work for me in this movie so that I wouldn't have a repeat situation of my Act of Valor review. Okay, so the 5-year engagement stars Jason Segel and Emily Blunt as a happy couple who just got engaged. They plan on getting married in a year, but of course things happen that kind of get in the way. Emily Blunt gets a job offer and then they have to move to Michigan and then they decide to postpone the wedding for a little bit. Now the thing that I really like about Judd Apatow produced movies is that they really have simple plots that stay in the background and you're really just having fun with these characters and they're just day-to-day rituals and they go through all the plots in the background and yet those day-to-day scenes are still relevant to the overall plot. And that's a problem with this movie. Like, the plot isn't particularly strong enough to justify that. So a lot of the scenes and jokes don't even feel relevant to the plot, and they would have probably just worked better as deleted scenes. If I were to focus on positives for a little bit, I would say that Jason Segel and Emily Blunt have terrific chemistry, but the movie isn't always about them together. Emily Blunt's job keeps her busy and introduces a boatload of overdeveloped side characters, and Jason Segel's job keeps him miserable and introduces another boatload of overdeveloped characters. The only side characters that were really needed in this movie were the parents, Chris Pratt, Alison Brie, who I liked in the movie, but don't have her do a British accent, and then have her stand next to Emily Blunt because it kind of becomes obvious that she's doing a British accent. And these day by day scenes with the main characters and all of the supporting cast feel more like sketches. Like, there's a scene where Emily Blunt and her friends are having dinner, and then two of the friends kind of give these speeches about how they all like the whole group except for like one person in the group, and it was kind of funny but mostly pointless, especially since later in the movie, those two characters who don't like each other, you see them in a room alone talking, almost to the point where they just genuinely come off as friends. And that just made me go, what was the point of the earlier scene if you're gonna just put them together like that? And on occasion, a completely random person would just pop up into the movie and be part of someone's group, which made no sense to me. Like, who was the blonde guy during the group dinner scene I described earlier? Who was that? He just appeared. And also, I didn't really like the editing of this movie. Like, some scene transitions just flat out didn't make any sense or just felt really awkward. It kind of even reminded me of some of my videos, and I hate my scene transitions. There's one scene where they get into a fight, and then in the next scene they're having sex, and then in another scene Emily Blunt's in the classroom, and then it transitions to Jason Segel scraping off snow off a windshield, and then he falls, and it kind of felt choppy in places, or just really awkward. But the biggest offender in terms of just bad editing was a scene in the third act. Like, this actually happens in the movie. How do you go from wanting to have like a mellow night with someone to having sex with them, to having sex again, 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 to dancing, to having sex again, to being bored, to throwing a party, to almost going to bed, and then to just top it all off, have sex again? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And that scene just played out with all those awkward cuts for what honestly felt like 5 minutes. And I at that point I was just like, what are you guys doing? Now another issue is that there's a dramatic element to the movie. Now a little drama isn't a bad thing, but it really does not mesh well with the comedy. And it gets really serious at times. Like, there's a reason that Jason Segel and Emily Blunt look so miserable in that movie poster. Their relationship takes a beating in this movie, and honestly, it got so bad for them that I couldn't even root for them as a couple by the end. A lot of people said that this movie ran a bit long, and I do agree with that, but I'll give it credit for never being boring. But for the last 30 minutes, things were just so messed up between the couple. I was just like, seriously, where are you guys going with this? Like, Nicholas Stoller and Jason Segel basically pull the funny people with this movie, except the flaws in that movie are just magnified in here. Their heart was definitely in the right place with this movie, and I'd like to commend them for trying to be more than a romantic comedy and then go into better depth with its central relationship, but it just does not work here. And if anything, I just got the feeling that I'd be better off knocking up a girl and then marrying her rather than going through what Jason Segel and Emily Blunt went through in this movie. Which is why it pains me to say that the 5 year engagement is watchable, but there's honestly no reason to. And if you like this review and you want to see more, please subscribe. And to at least end this review on a high note, Avengers in 4 days.